This is a podcast from the Queen City Podcast Network.
Welcome to Nerd Skool.
Yeah.
Suck it, nerd! Suck it, nerd! Suck it, nerd!
Visit me, daddy ass.
Welcome to Nerd Skool.
My name is Low-Key. Welcome to the Nerd Skool podcast. You, Jack.
It was an emotional scene, which is a lot
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a villain.
And it makes the villain more three-dimensional rather than him just having evil. Like he's a villain doesn't know they're a villain all the time, you know.
I mean, I feel like Thanos knows he's a villain.
I think he does, but
Let's be honest. Thanos knows he's a villain.
he
I
knows
feel like this was a scene was not only surprising to him, but also surprising to her when it was like, you know, it has to be someone you love so dearly or whatever the words were. And she's like, I got you. You don't love nothing.
Yeah.
And the truth is he loved her. And I don't think he expected the love to be that strong. And she damn sure didn't expect it. But it reminded me of parents, you know, in this world, there are a lot of elder millennials who are dealing with like no contact, low contact with their parents, right? I know I'm not the only one that's out here in the world. And it reminds me of that, right? Your parents love you and they think they've done right by you, but they are not great humans.
Okay.
That's
So
what this scene reminds me of.
So it's complicated, and if you get to an understanding of your parent who may have made mistakes, and then you've been upset with them or whatever, and you can see them as a bad person, but then you realize they really do love you.
I mean, they are a bad person.
they
I
love
mean,
you in
even-
what their concept of love is.
Yes.
Okay.
And in the Red Skulls or the Soul Stones perspective, that I guess that's enough. Because Gamora is
Yeah.
still like, that's not love. What you do, this is not love. This is ridiculous.
But
But
Tim,
in his limited experience of love, that is love. Right.
And-
So
And it occurred to me just now, you could make an argument that, you know, in the comics, Thanos was in love with death itself, death herself.
True.
Like there's a embodiment of death. And so the fact that he has to kill her, to kill what he loves, is like sort of like her death is being in love with death.
so you guys are
Kinda.
am I right to be under the impression that the way Vormir works is if he didn't truly at least think he loves Gamora, if he didn't have those feelings, he wouldn't have got the stone, right? Like if he just threw,
Yeah.
if he
yeah,
said, "Oh
that's
yeah,
how
I
it's
love
set
her,"
up.
but he didn't
Yeah.
really love her, and he threw her down, he wouldn't have got the
Yeah.
stone because like the
Right.
Vormir knows your true feelings.
Right. So if
Yeah.
he'd happened to be there with Nebula, that probably wouldn't have worked.
It would not have worked.
Because she's just a waste of parts, he says, right?
Yeah.
But at Vormir, as we talked before, the first card you play there is destroyed, which kind of makes sense. And Marvel
That's
Snap.
what this is about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's I think interesting to me because I didn't think it through that much, but I really like Tiffany's whole.
Listen, Tiffany's in a lot of therapy, and a lot of her therapy revolves around her mother. So
Yeah.
this
So
scene,
Yeah.
if you are related to me, I love my mom. She's great. But that doesn't mean we don't have things to unpack. So no
Yeah.
slight to my mom.
and
but
most people
this-
do. Yeah.
Right. It's the reconciling of both and your parents can be not good humans and love you in their warped way. It's that
Right.
weird concept. I think we've lived a lot of life in black and white, even in comic books. This is good, this is bad. Bad people don't love, bad people don't care. And when the truth is, it's a both and situation.
But I feel like
Yeah.
it makes it. Again, we keep talking about how these movies aren't like superhero movies of old. Like superhero movies of old were just good, bad, cartoonish, you know. But there's these complex feelings. We have real actors
Mhm.
that can do real things, and hits home for a lot of people. You're not the only one,
Yeah.
Tiffany, that's got that kind of feeling, I'm sure. So it makes it real, makes you relate to these characters more, and even Thanos, as Artstar says.
And the Red Skull says, "Think Thanos, son
And
of whoever."
that's what
where I
Thor
got it
says
from.
too. Thor says, Thanos. Where's
I'll be waiting for someone to correct me on said polo thing. I think when I do it, I purposely say it like that to
To
see
get
if I'm
under
going to get
somebody's skin,
corrected.
No, but I think you say it correct. Like I hear them say it now that way.
I mean, tomato.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of times there's a handful of names in comics that you've only ever read them in comics. Like back in the day, was it Thanos or was it Thanos? Or was it Namor or Namor?
The anus?
Thanos?
Is it the Submariner, the
how did you spell
Submariner?
it?
Is it Dark Side or Dark Seed? There was a lot of nerd debate.
Recently, how we have Wakanda Forever. Like I know there are probably a ton of people who've always said Namor, but then people go like Namor now, right?
Namor.
They say Namor or Namor.
They'll say Namor. Like if you listen.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the interesting thing about language that we primarily read, because none of us really know until it's said by the person who decided what it was, or it's become more popular.
Like GIF and GIF.
Oh Lord, we were just in that debate the other day with somebody else I know. I say GIF, my sister says, I say GIF, my sister says GIF. Then it started debate in my office, and then we Googled it. It was a rabbit hole, but yeah.
Because the
it
guy who
stands
invented
for-
it says it's GIF, but that's stupid.
But
He's
that guy
dumb.
doesn't-
But when he
doesn't have the
said
right.
it, but here's the thing: when he said it, he was doing a PowerPoint, and in the PowerPoint, he spelt it GIF, GIF. So then I'm like, well, why did you name it GIF with the G?
Because it stands for graphic interchange format or whatever.
Listen,
So it's a G.
I say GIF.
That's G, GIF, yeah, because it's a graphic interchange. Graphic starts with G.
I don't care what the founder says. I'm gonna go on record
Excuse
and
me.
say he was dumb.
But
Sorry,
it's like
lately I've been coughing like a M'Baku. When I cough, it sounds like the M'Baku, like his chant when he gets everybody going.
Are you coming in and getting everybody around you
Yeah.
ready for something?
I remember there was a couple of words that I'd heard the word debacle, but I'd never read it. Or there was the word debacle that I was reading, and the word debacle that I had heard, and it took a long time for me to connect those two as the same word.
Debacle.
Same thing with the French word, oh, that's so chic, that's so fashionable. And
So it's
I
chic.
thought it was spelled like the Iron Sheik. And when I would read it, it was always like italicized because it was French, but it was, oh, that's so chic. And it took me a while to go, oh.
Or chic and shake.
Yeah. Well, that's
steak and
how,
shake.
I guess comes from being an antisocial reader. You read a lot, but you don't talk to a lot of people, so you don't know how to say things until you interact with people.
Or you read in the lens that is not everyday language, like superheroes and fantasy. I mean, those words are mainly made up, so
Yeah.
Most common people aren't having those conversations. You're not walking into work talking about Thanos or Thanos or whatever.
Thanos.
She said Thanos.
Thanos and Uranus.
I
All right, now
got
Joe's
one.
gonna crop that out and have TBJ saying anus.
He better not.
Well, speaking of words nobody knows how to say, we get soon to the part where Shuri asks Bruce why he didn't reprogram the synapses to work collectively. Why didn't you just reprogram the synapses to work collectively? We didn't think of it. But
Which is
Yeah,
another
I
reminder.
feel like we talked about this a
her
little bit.
genius. Yeah,
we did. We
talked
jumped to
about
that
her
because we
level
just
of
keep.
genius.
I think just because we all love Shuri and talk about that.
Yeah,
As
and
we
the
should.
idea, I remember expressing like the idea of she thinks as a collective because Wakanda is all
Yep.
like is
It's a
very
we.
much a we,
Yeah.
whereas the capitalist society that these captains of industry and super white genius boys are raised in is all about me, individuality, that kind of thing. So that's probably why they didn't think of it.
So, but back to Vormir really quick. Red Skull
Vormir.
becomes this keeper of Vormir and has to explain because now why did he get banished there? Because he
was
couldn't-
trying to. He had the Tesseract back in the 1943 before Captain America got frozen. He was about to destroy a lot of the shit.
Right.
And he
Remember
tried.
him
He held it with his bare hand, and then he got like it's the Space Stone is what the Tesseract was.
Right.
So it opened up this big ass weird portal, and he got sucked into it, and that was like, oh, that's the end of it. And that's the last time we saw him was in the first Captain America movie.
So
Yeah.
basically,
Now
Joe, what
this
happened
is his
was
appearance.
he was a card that was played. And you know, when you play the card on Vermeer,
First one's
it doesn't
deleted.
it doesn't just get destroyed. It like gets sucked in. So
All right,
that's what happened to him.
We got to dial back the Marvel Snap analogies a little bit,
'Cause
but
he said that because he tried to get the stones.
yeah,
He was banished there to help others to a treasure he cannot possess.
yeah, it rejected him. It said you're a piece of shit because you're a Nazi and fuck you. I don't know why it doesn't reject Thanos
Because he's not a Nazi. And he does think he's doing the right thing. Like overpopulation is a problem.
Yeah, but let's not solve it by murdering half the population.
They're not being murdered. It's mercy. He's letting half of them disappear.
They're very much being murdered, Joe.
So
because he's randomizing his genocide. I guess that's the line. Thanos is randomizing genocide. So I guess is it technically genocide rather than just mass murder if there's no like
well, he makes a
specifically
comment
this is why
somewhere
we're killing you.
where it's not like this is the easiest way because they don't actually suffer, they just disappear. You know?
Right. He's thinking it's mercy and whatever, not just like.
So Red Skull explains the price for the Soul Stone is to lose that which you love, a soul for a soul. So now we know when he throws Gamora, he gets the stone, so he does truly care for her and does love her, even
in
though
his
it's a fucked
warped
up
way.
Yeah, even if it's a fucked up way.
Yeah.
The Soul
So
Stone.
what I was
care.
saying was genocide is technically defined as the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. So what Thanos is doing is technically not genocide, whereas what the Red Skull was fighting for is absolutely genocide because he was a goddamn Nazi.
But then when Thanos does do this, the snap, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but is that the universe, the multiverse that everyone's despairing? Not just
I don't know about the
Earth,
multiverse, but it's because probably not the multiverse established in Loki, the Loki series, how the Infinity Stones, when they're outside of their universe, they're kind of useless.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess it's just the universe, the main MCU universe, as not opposed to like.
So Asgard, are half the people in Asgard disappearing? Place?
Asgard has already been destroyed. Place.
And, it's an ass people, not an ass place.
Yes. Lord help you, stop.
You have to ask people disappear.
It's a lot of weirdness.
Yeah.
With the people that were disappearing, just because if you're kind of current, there were only it wasn't everyone who was disappearing. It's like it was everyone who was like Andy said on the MCU's Earth or whatever. But then there's also things that have been going on recently that make you say, well, why didn't they disappear? Or, how
it's random.
did it? Say it again.
It's random. That's the answer. It's random. But yeah, as we
I'm trying not to
it's
be
happening
spoiler.
all throughout the universe.
I'm not trying to do trying to spoil things and mention things that have happened in Secret Invasion. Like there are things that happen.
I'm not caught up on that. So
okay, well, there are things that happen in Secret Invasion that make you question
your sexuality.
Basically, what happened? Yeah, makes you question what
No,
happened.
he's 100% for you, Joe. That's not a question.
who were disappearing, like who, and then it's like who else did it affect, and like we know, like I guess you kind of you kind of figure out that it just happened to Earth, but it also just happened to. It was random, but then there was also people who was in this random mix of people who weren't disappearing, and it's like, is it because of what is going on in Secret Invasion, kind of thing? I'm trying not to spoil Secret Invasion.
Yeah, it's hard. We might have to just avoid this because I mean,
but it's like once you get caught up on Secret Invasion, and it's even before I've read stuff online about this. Once you get caught up on Secret Invasion, it makes a lot of stuff that has happened in this big cataclysmic event. It makes you question a lot of it
Oh boy.
easily.
Okay.
Well,
But
like,
then
All right. Well, we'll
also
get
it's
to
like-
that.
I've been talking. I was talking to Josh Frank, friend of the show.
friend of the show,
and,
Josh Frank. Beautiful beard. Beautiful butt.
We was talking about how a lot of what's going on now in the MCU is like they're kind of like trying to skate by on their laurels. Like if they started out cold like the DCEU did, we would get more. Like even now, like a lot of people don't like how Secret Invasion ended. Right? It's almost like Marvel has gotten to the point where they're so comfortable making these big budget things and are making lots of money, but then they're producing stuff like Quantumania, which didn't do that well. You have Secret Invasion, which they say, didn't do that well. Because if you look at it and then you go back to what happened in Endgame and how this thing was big, that thing was big, now you're a couple of years in the future. It's like, wait, so you kind of either erase this or you want us to forget that this happened. So it's a lot of, I don't know, it's like even now just watching it over again, it's like it's easy to pick and choose. Well, why didn't this happen? Where was this person at? And
I would
what's going on
imagine the more and more they write, the harder it is to make everything still valid and work and not cancel out previous things they've written.
Yeah, but then it's also the fact that they tell us, okay, this movie's coming out 7 years from now, but we're building up to it. And then once we get to that 7 years, again, of course it's going to change because it's been 7 years, but then it's still just like, I'm seven is just an arbitrary number, just in case, Andy. But it's like
I'm waiting for you to complete a sentence.
It's been like 7 years, right? So it's like, of course, the storyline will change, but then it's like sometimes it just diverges so much that you almost like expect us to have a really short-term memory and totally forget what we saw then. And now it's like, oh yeah, cool, this happened. But where did it happen at in here? Like, are we supposed to assume that that's what happened? Anyway, go ahead. I feel like if I keep going, I'm a spoil.
I think there's no way you can avoid
stop.
spoiling and getting too far and blowing my brain at least.
I think but this is like this whole concept is a thing that comics has to reckon with a lot themselves.
Mhm.
They're working on like 60 odd years of continuity that some they can just ignore because who remembers what happened in freaking Firefist #3?
So you
whatever.
admit Firefist exists.
Sure.
Rusty. We had an offline argument about this.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I had never heard Rusty and Skids of X Factor fame referred
I didn't know
to
they
as
were X Factor.
Firefist ever.
They showed up in an X-Men show that I was watching, and I'm learning almost too fast. All these characters keep showing up. I'm like, who are these? The Space Jammers? Who the hell are these guys?
Starjammers
And Starjammers, yeah, sorry.
with Chode, and it's actually pronounced Chode in the
That's how they
comics,
pronounce it in the show.
or in the
Chode,
cartoon.
several times.
But yeah, it's like there's so much continuity that, like, on one hand, they have to ignore some stuff to tell some stories, or sometimes they're going to miss stuff because not everyone has an encyclopedic knowledge of 60 years of comic lore of every character they're writing.
Yeah.
I know there's websites that you can refer to sort of get the bullet points and stuff, but you're going to miss some things. And that's can bother people, like how this contradicts what happened, this very important character moment where he had a cup of coffee over there instead of over here because he's
coffee in the big time.
Yeah, or whatever. So it could annoy some people, but is it worth it to appeal to more people that have no idea about that?
And
sometimes like DC just reboots their shit.
Comics. That's in the comics
every 10 years.
But if it's in television or on the screen, big screen, it's like you can't sit there and you can't like, okay, well, I'm not going to appeal. I'm not going to try to appease the comic book viewer. But if I'm actually viewing this and I'm not a comic book viewer and I see movie B, and then when I get to movie E, I see you didn't retcon it. You just almost just like, I'm gonna put this right here, and then hope when I get to movie E when I decide to change it, Jim Bob is going to forget that he saw this or didn't see this in movie B, and just like, oh, this movie E is so good, I totally forgot about what happened in movie B.
Yeah, and that's like I forgot what happened in Moon Knight number 6 because I'm really enjoying Moon Knight number 543 right now, and it's the same kind of thing. Eventually, the more the MCU progresses, the less they're going to be able to reconcile every little bit of minutia, and they're going to have a problem. And eventually, they're going to have a Crisis on Infinite Earths and reboot it, or jump to the Ultimate Universe or something like that.
And that's going to piss Joe off.
But that's why they have they've introduced multiverse. So you can always explain it away, and they might need to bring back officially the No Prize that you guys told me about.
Yeah,
doing comics.
Zing, I was going to bring that up. But
boom,
good job.
So
I learned. I'm a learning
trailer. Looks
little
amazing.
extra credit. I haven't seen the Loki.
No more
I
Loki
watched half
2.
of it.
Stop. We got to get through this movie.
Man.
We will never get through this movie.
No tangents.
No, we will never. Notice
Yeah.
I've been silent, waiting on us to keep moving.
So he throws Gamora. Now we cut back to Avengers landing in Wakanda, and Rhodey has a funny moment here where he pranks Bruce to bow to King Chadwick Boseman. He's saying bow, and he's like, so he does it. He's like, we don't do that here. That was funny.
Makes me. I'm so angry. I'm angry. I want you guys to know, Artstar is mad. He's mad at everything. Continue on, Joe.
Are you? Is
What are
this
you
a
mad about?
Secret Invasion thing?
It's very much so. Continue on.
All right,
Joe.
right.
Oh, it's
All right,
another
just
thing that
Secret
happens?
Invasion. We'll talk about it later.
Okay,
Let's
so we
skip
get
ahead. Skip.
Okay, so then that's when Shuri asks why Bruce didn't just reprogram the synapses to work collectively. Duh, and he didn't think of it. Then the battle arrives to Wakanda, and Black Panther's that cool moment where it's like, get this man his shield, or give this man a shield. And he's got these new fancy vibranium shields. Thor and Rocket, meanwhile, are working together to get that forge going. That whole thing. And then Bruce is trying out the Hulkbuster armor, which is kind of fun seeing him like, yeah, this is fun. Having him be Bruce during all that is kind of funny.
Having Bruce be Bruce?
Yeah, well, I mean, because normally he's Hulk when he's fighting and all that stuff, but he gets to be Bruce inside the thing and be more in control. But okay, this is the part where I made the note, and we've already talked about this, so we don't have to exhaust this, and you guys are getting mad. But this is where I said the CGI of people talking still needs some work. When he says we have blood to spare, it looks like a video game when Thanos is talking. I feel like,
or you mean the Proxima Midnight there?
Oh, when
the minions of Thanos,
and then also when Thanos talks, it looks like they don't look real. But this was also 2000. What year was this? 14.
2018, I think. 2018 or
so
19.
This was where I noticed it. I was like, oh, this is kind of not that good. Anyhow, Black Panther decides to open the barrier because the alien monster things are starting to surround it. They don't want him to get Vision. And then he yells Wakanda forever. And they
that whole bit I'm a little hazy about. Just I'm trying to get my head around the strategery of that. All right, we have the big force shield over everything. Why are we all concentrated here? Why do we have no defenses in the back? And but I guess that if they can do that thing where they're just throwing themselves at the meat shield through the shit.
I think they were worried the shield wasn't going to hold. Right, if it doesn't hold and they surround it, we're surrounded, and they're going to come in on all sides and get us from behind.
Right, so they want to keep them there.
So it was like we have to open it.
Why don't they have anything back?
My biggest thing is coming up soon throughout this whole battle thing. It's like, oh, why didn't they do this? Or why did they could have won if they just did this and that? But it's all moot because no matter what happened, Thanos could just do the time. Once he gets the time stone, he could just go back and redo whatever happens until it works out in his favor. But like when Scarlet Witch finally shows up and kicks everybody's ass, like, why was she up there the whole fucking time? It's
because she was guarding Vision. Like you get that answer immediately.
Right.
Where was she this whole time? They were waiting for her to get called out there so they could go beat up the Vision and take the Mind Stone.
Yeah, I guess.
And that's what they start doing, and that distracts everybody. And
anyway, now we jump back to Thor and Tyrion Lannister. You're about to take the full force of a star. It'll kill you. Only if I die.
Yes, that's what killing you means.
That's what killing you means. This is one of my favorite parts. Anyway, he holds the eye open just long enough to make the hammer. and then Tyrion can't find the handle. Where's the handle? Tree, help me find the handle. So Groot comes in and saves the day.
Gets his little moment in the movie.
His arm turns into the Groot's arm is the handle of what's this hammer called?
Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker, yeah.
Which is actually in comic book lore was the hammer of Beta Ray Bill, the Corbinite alien created by Walt Simonson, who was I was just reading this today. I almost bought the original appearance trade of Beta Ray Bill.
You should have.
I should have.
Is he a moose, Beta Ray Bill?
He's from the planet Corbin, so he's a Corbinite. But his face was designed as like a horse skull because he was trying to they were trying to do a thing where a guy who looks like a villain is actually turns out to be worthy to lift up Mjolnir, and that changes everyone's perspective because everyone's some like Adonis heroic type picking up the hammer. That wouldn't surprise anybody. But this guy, who all we know is this monster looking guy, and there's a misunderstanding where he's fighting Thor. Yeah. And so then suddenly he's worthy of the hammer, and everyone's like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? We have to treat him as something other than a villain. So that was kind of interesting. So he was worthy of Mjolnir, but he had to give the hammer back to Thor eventually. So Odin made him his own hammer called Stormbreaker.
That's where Stormbreaker came in the comics?
Yeah.
So we're nerds now are upset because Stormbreaker is supposed to be.
I don't necessarily. I haven't heard any nerds upset about that. I mean,
have you asked any nerds specifically if they're mad about
it? No, because I think this movie made a lot of nerds happy.
Okay, people were happy. Okay,
a lot of nerd boners.
Yeah, a lot of nerd boners. And so
I mean, there was a brief reference to Beta Ray Bill in Thor Ragnarok. There was this one shot of a tower on the Devil's Anus planet Sakaar. There was the Bi Beast, and there was also a Beta Ray Bill sort of bust.
Wait, Bi Beast? There was a Bi Beast bust
on the Mount. It was basically sort of like a Mount Rushmore of gladiators from the Grandmaster's little thing. It's just like one shot, but you can say, "Oh, that's Beta Ray Bill's head. That's the Bi Beast's head." That's pretty.
The Bi Beast bust. So he had the two faces of the Bi Beast.
Yeah,
which I know. Just telling everybody, I know what the Bi Beast is from a comic book that we had up at our lake house that we used to have when we were kids. And Andy fulfilled my nostalgia boner and brought it up to our lake house. When we
Don't ever say that I did anything with your boners.
My nostalgia boner. Anyway, I wanted to read.
This is not that kind of podcast, Joe.
I wanted to read that comic again at the lake that we used to go to when we were kids, and we went to the lake, and he brought the comic, so I got to recreate childhood looking at that comic book, and it has Bi Beast in it. So, anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Bi Beast's first appearance. You can look that up. Rampaging Hulk.
And now we're back on Wakanda, and everyone's getting overrun with monsters. But all of a sudden, a pride rainbow smashes to the ground, and Thor, Rocket, and Groot appear. And Bruce pops his head out and says, "You guys are so screwed now," and starts laughing.
No, he's happy. He thought Thor was dead until that moment.
Yeah, you're so screwed now. And that's when he says, "Bring me Thanos," and he says it like Artstar.
He's mythical. And there's one thing about Chris Hemsworth I really like. I've been noticing lately. Is just like how well.
Pecs.
Just one thing.
His pecs and his abs.
One thing.
His flowing hair. When he has flowing hair.
He's really good at like blending, making the big talk, the big noble Thor Shakespearean sort of talk from the comics, like weaving that in with sounding like a regular person. Like he's like there's a bit in the Avengers where Loki's mind is far afield, but blah blah blah. Like that,
So
no one
saying
says
he's like
a field. Yeah, like he's
Hemsworth is like a god himself.
Sort of like, but he's just like he's good at like weaving. Like he'll say like use big vocabulary words, like old antiquated words, like big things. But he can also just say all words are made up, or say a bunch of silly shit. There's like a bit in Love and Thunder. I can't remember what the dialogue is now, but he was talking about how do you know it's the Shadow Realm? It's like, oh, there's a something there that it's like color feels to tread there. It's unmistakable kind of thing. Just like the way he talks about shit. It's a great balance of the comic book Thor's "I say thee nay" sort of talk and a regular person.
Very
Does that
loud.
make any sense?
Yay for Hemsworth. You know how
Yeah.
I feel about him. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming over to this side, Andy.
I ain't had nothing wrong with him. I'm sure he's lickable.
Very much. Very, very
Wow,
much.
this is getting sexual in here.
This
Is-
must
Well,
be
like
that
you and
kind
Art
of
don't bring the
podcast.
sexual energy all the time. We just had a moment for him.
We oozes it.
Okay,
Ooze
now
it.
we got to cut to Titan, folks, because Thanos has that strange conversation about what Titan used to be and not enough to go around. And he offered the genocide solution, which I guess Andy just explains is not really genocide.
Although Doctor Strange calls it that.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Oh, it's genocide, but random. Yeah, so he qualifies it.
But random, yeah.
Yeah.
And Thanos brags about his strong will. And Strange says, "You'll find ours is just as strong." And he says, "Ours? What do you mean?" And then the battle ensues with Spider-Man, Iron Man, Strange, Star-Lord, Drax, Nebula, and Mantis. And when I was just rewatching this the other day to catch up again, I almost couldn't watch it because I get so frustrated that they almost had him. Until Star-Lord comes and fucks it all up, they almost had the glove off. And there's like so many of those. Why didn't they just? Why didn't they just? But I guess
That's in any type of
Yeah.
superhero thing. It's like
Yeah.
you can't just go headstrong into it, solve it, finish it, save the day, and fly off.
Because then it's not a
Right?
great story.
There has to be
Yeah.
turmoil and
Yeah.
heartache and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and like not everyone is at their best, like completely clear of thought because they're on another planet. Most of them have never been there.
Yeah.
They're fighting weird aliens for the fate of the entire universe. Everything is on the line. Sometimes you're like, hey, how about just cut off his arm?
Yeah.
And they're also heroes. They don't think in terms of dismembering people. So,
Right.
I mean, there's reasons. You can come up with reasons for things not to have happened. You can say, oh, the most efficient way to do this would be to cut off his arms and then cut off his head.
Well,
And
that
then
I get
nail
so
him in different parts to
I get
different
so
parts of
mad
the
at
universe.
Quill because we know what he's so upset about Gamora, he loses emotions. But I guess he has to do that to show that he loves her or whatever. But
Yeah.
Quill finds out Gamora's dead, starts slapping Thanos, waking him up just as they got the gauntlet off. But he grabs it back. He's like, Quill, stop! We're almost got it off, and we almost have it. And then Thanos starts whooping everybody's ass because he snaps out of it because Quill got him out of it. And then he pulls giant meteors out of the sky, and everyone goes flying. And back to Vision and Shuri. The battle and Rocket and Winter Soldier. The funny bit with him picking up Rocket and shooting in a circle. Hey, how much for the gun? Not for sale. How much for the arm? I'll get that arm. That was kind of fun.
The whole thing with Captain America copying Thor's beard.
Oh yeah.
And then there was a great bit at the beginning of that
Get a
fight
haircut
in Wakanda. Yeah, just where you see Captain America and Black Panther bolting towards, like when they're about to open the force field.
Yeah,
it's those two in a foot match.
Well, yeah, they're the fastest too. Yeah, like because it just kind of everybody's going, and then it's okay. Those two are. But I love how they established that. You can tell they thought about that. They were like, we have to establish that Black Panther is, he's as powerful as or as whatever, as fast or whatever as Cap. So like, okay, Soldier Serum is equal to, as far as speed goes, as whatever Cap's got or Black Panther's powers.
Heart-shaped herb.
But those two are superior to everybody else. So it's kind of neat.
And I like that it calls back. Now I'm just thinking about it to I think it was Civil War when they were having that foot chase through the tunnel, and like Captain America was lagging behind, and Black Panther was chasing the car or chasing Bucky.
Oh, that's right.
And then Steve Rogers is like trying to catch up with him, and he can't, so he has to like jump on a car for a little bit, I think, and all that shit.
So maybe Cap has improved.
I think Black Panther was still ahead of him in Infinity War, wasn't he? If we're calling it a foot race, this is like who would win a race around the world. Yeah. Superman.
It's just a race,
Flash.
though. It's not. Yeah. Anyway,
they're just.
That was a cool moment. That was a cool moment. But then Cap and Thor get to this where he's like, "Get a haircut." Oh, I noticed you copied my beard. By the way, this is my friend. This is Tree. I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers. So that was a funny little thing.
That's good. I had a Facebook memory come up of like apparently like about 9 years ago at this time was the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. coming out, and I got excited because I could I could say the sentence, David Letterman is talking about Groot, because the promo thing we're going on, but he described him as saying, and there's this tree who keeps walking around saying, I am Gorp. And for some reason, the idea of David Letterman engaging with the MCU at all is kind of funny to me in my head.
Yeah, that is
I am
funny.
Gorp. So now I just want to call him Gorp all the time.
Yeah, that is funny.
And then the giant metal wheels show up and almost destroy everyone. But Scarlet Witch pops in and stops them all. And again, I said, just as I was thinking that, Okoye says, why was she up there all this time? But then I also thought, why didn't the bad guys just bring those wheels up at the beginning and just kill everybody? But
well, you escalate,
you build
go
to
with
it.
what's expendable, and if they bring out something bigger, you need to have something bigger to respond.
And so now,
but yeah, Scarlet Witch's job was to destroy the Mind Stone as soon as Shuri got it free from the Vision, and so that's why she was up there, because she was the capper. Was once we get Shuri was working to make Vision's brain able to survive without it, and that's what she was working to do. And once she got the Mind Stone out, Wanda was supposed to destroy it and then keep Thanos from getting all 6 stones. That's why she was waiting to do that the minute she could.
Mission. Yep.
Right. And but I kept thinking, if she just did it sooner, but it doesn't matter because he would have just.
Shuri hadn't finished her saving Vision yet. Shuri's there trying to make it so the Vision can survive without it.
Then she's going to destroy this. But
if she destroyed the Mind Stone, then Vision would be dead, and
Wanda's not having that. Yeah.
No.
But if they would have just listened to Vision at the beginning
and said, just kill it. Yeah. They would have, but we don't trade lives.
We don't trade lives, Cap. Yeah. Okay. Right. Then Elf Boy gets to Shuri and Vision and knocks everybody down. Vision tackles him and starts fighting.
Elf Boy is Corvus Glaive.
Corvus Glaive from Planet Corbin Burnson. And then Hulkbuster battle while Bruce is trying to get Hulk to come out. Ends up defeating the big monster guy who I thought was already sent to Hoth. So how did he get back from Hoth? Does anybody know? They didn't show.
I think they picked him up at one point.
But he does now have a metal arm. So he's he's got
he got his hand cut
hammer
off
or something for
But I feel like there was a shot of them picking him up from Hoth at some point.
I don't think so.
It was
very
forgettable. I wonder where his hand went.
No, that's another reference.
Does that come back later?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe.
And then also the ladies are fighting Evil Lynn. And then Elf Boy is beating
Proxima
up Vision.
Midnight, yes.
Proxima Midnight, that looks kind of like Evil Lynn. Then Elf Boy is beating up Vision. Why doesn't he shoot the yellow P laser in his face? That's my question. I don't like the yellow P laser.
Because you like to say P.
And then Cap shows up and tells him to go, get out of here. Scarlet Witch pulls Evil Lynn Lady into the oncoming wheel traffic and she explodes. And blue blood goes all over Scarjo's face. She says that's really gross.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part I had to pause on Scarjo because something looked weird about Scarjo to me. I couldn't figure out what it was.
Well, she had blonde hair and blue blood all over her face.
Yeah, but the blonde hair, I think it's her eyebrows are dyed because her eyebrows are dyed.
Did you literally pause just for that?
I did. I was like, what? Why did she look different? So I pulled up.
You paid too much attention to Scarjo.
Well, she
he loves her. He
looked
loves
different. I just want to know what's going on.
Second to you.
I thought maybe something happened to her.
Yeah, Scarjo is to Joe as Chris Hemsworth is to TBJ.
Yeah.
All the Hemsworths.
She's eye candy.
Not just Chris. All of them.
All the Hemsworths or all the Chris's?
All of them. No, not all the Chris's.
Everybody loves Chris.
Because there might be someone listening to this show whose name is Ted Hemsworth who lives in Idaho.
Yeah, but
TBJ
loves
all of them. Said all of them.
And he's going to show up to TBJ's door shirtless.
All those showbiz Hemsworth brothers.
I got a hammer.
He'll have chip crumbs in his chest hair, and she's going to have to take him in.
No, not your average Hemsworth. Only
not your average one, just the above average.
I am the god of hammers. How you doing, TBJ?
That would not get a response at all.
I'm the god of screwdrivers. How about that?
Okay, Vision uses what little strength he has left to kill Elf Boy. Right, he's about to kill Cap. And Cap says, I thought I told you to go. We don't trade lives, Captain, which is what Andy just referenced. And then back to Titan. Spidey's saving everyone with webs. He's like, I got you. Sorry, I can't remember anybody's names. I got you. And that was kind of a funny little bit. And then Thanos is battling Strange. Then Stark.
And that's take a minute at that battle. Doctor Strange throwing all this crazy ass shit, and Thanos having to use all the Infinity Gauntlet shit to kind of counter all the weird shit that Doctor Strange is throwing at him.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I made the note that I thought if they use some of the tactics that they were fighting him while they were fighting him at the beginning, some of these tactics, maybe they would have won and not escalated to same.
Well,
same thing as
Doctor
before.
Strange has already seen 16 million possible futures.
Yeah,
at this
so he's
point.
trying to. Yeah.
Although the thing, when they had Thanos in his sleep mode, like they had him wrapped in the crimson bands of Cyttorak, which are like standard Doctor Strange spells, but Cyttorak is also the demonic being that gives Juggernaut his power. We haven't seen Juggernaut yet, but I just wanted to mention that. Cyttorak. Cyttorak. So
that's what the magic shit he's doing is called?
That's like you do a spell, you appeal to the god of whatever it is you're throwing the spell at, if we're getting into sort of D&D terms. So Cyttorak, he's summoning the power of Cyttorak to have these unbreakable bands to try to hold him down. Anyway, let's go.
My brain capacity of understanding that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he stabs Stark through his torso. Strange tells him to stop, spare his life, and I'll give you the stone. And then he gives it.
Which is everything he said he would not do earlier.
Yeah, he said he wouldn't. And then Stark was, why would you do that? We're in the end game now. Which kind of,
Yeah.
Dun, dun. I was just gonna. That's
so at that point, did we even know Endgame was going to be the next movie or not?
We knew it was going to be. I don't think it had its name had been revealed yet. As far as we knew, it was Infinity War Part 2.
But they probably knew it.
Yeah, or either that, or they eventually
we
decided
talked
we're not
about
going to
this.
have a
They
better game.
know. Yeah, they know.
They know
They
everything
are
ahead.
all
Yeah.
planned out, suckers.
Yeah. Then Thanos disappears. Wakanda and back to Wakanda. Vision senses Thanos. It's like Thanos is here. So I think he said Thanos maybe. And then Cap, we have incoming. Thanos destroys everyone one by one because, of course, they take turns attacking him rather than just all attacking him at once, which is all of a sudden.
Well, they're trying to.
No, they're all taking turns, one at a time.
I think they're all just trying to get to where he is. So they encounter him as they arrive where he is.
It's like a poorly planned Royal Rumble. And then Wanda destroys the stone just in time, but of course Thanos uses the time stone to bring Vision back, ripping out the stone and completing the Pride Gauntlet.
And completely fucking with Wanda's mind, traumatizing her severely.
But that's kind of what I kind of
which will lead to WandaVision.
He can specialize the time stone to just turn back time for just one person, because like not everybody came back, just Vision came back because he can manipulate.
Well, it's like what Doctor Strange did in his movie with Dormammu. He basically won by putting himself in a time loop. Like he couldn't defeat Dormammu, but he could lock Dormammu into a time loop where all he could do was sit there and kill Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange would automatically come back to life and right back where he started. And Dormammu got so frustrated with it that he said, "All right, fine,
Okay.
I'll stop murdering Earth."
Yeah. Okay. Do we cover that one? We did this one. Or?
We did that one.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
It's okay, Joe. It's okay. It's a lot.
Okay,
It's a
so he's
lot.
got the Pride Gauntlet, and then Thor shows up finally. Where the fuck was he? Too late. Thanos gets stabbed through the chest, and he says, "You should have gone for the head." And then he snaps his fingers. Bucky disappears. Black Panther disappears. Groot, Wanda, Sam, Mantis, Drax, Quill, Strange, and Spidey all disappear. And that's pretty much like this whole ending sequence. It's so creepy every time I watch it.
Yeah, because there's nothing.
Creepy.
There's no sound.
Yeah, and they just
There's no music. There's no anything. It's just the heroes have just lost. Everything sucks. And Thanos vanishes.
Yeah, it's so well done the way they disappear, and it's creepy, and they turn into just nothingness. And then that's the end of the movie. We get the post-credit scene 1 where Maria Hill and Fury both vaporize, but Fury was able to contact who we assume is Captain Marvel's logo.
Hmm.
on the beeper, like he beeps her, so that sets us
Yeah.
up for Captain Marvel's next. Is that right, or is
Yes. Captain Marvel is the next one.
and we're all gonna watch that together?
Yeah.
And
At some point. But yeah,
Look
like
at think through this movie. Look at us.
yeah, we got through. I didn't know it was that quick, the ending, but
but it's really good. Like this is like Thanos. The end of the movie is Thanos like, I did it. I was basically the protagonist of this movie. Like it's his story, it's his quest. He fills the role of the main character, but he's the villain, which is kind of just a very unique way to spin one of these movies. And it was,
Right. And
I
the
mean, on
fact
one
that
hand, you think, oh, it's a huge risk to end a movie like this, but not so much because everyone knew there was another one coming and they'd figure it out. But it was a hell of a punch to just like everybody's gone. You don't know how they're coming back at this point, if they are, and they're just tattered remains of everybody, and all the shit that they struggled to do to stop him, nothing worked. And
yeah,
it leaves them like you were going second guessing themselves. Like, oh, why didn't we do this? We could have done that. We could have done this. And that's just, and billions of lives were gone on Earth and throughout the entire universe.
Yeah.
And that it's just like how heavy that ending is really intense and really well done.
Very heavy. I'm gonna tell
And
you.
that, like, yeah, like the final strains of that
Yeah.
little Thanos theme as he's sitting there watching the sun
in the
rise
garden,
on a grateful universe, which is, I don't know how much sense that makes because there's millions of suns within one universe. The universe doesn't have its own sun, or maybe it does, who knows. But he had that thing. It's like, what do you do when you're done? What's next? I rest and watch the sun rise on a grateful universe.
it's like Forrest Gump, right? When he was doing that running, and then all of a sudden he just stopped, and everyone's like, "What's going to happen next?" I think I'm going to go home now. And he just,
I'm done. I did my thing.
yeah,
Although it leads you to think, all right, what happens when the population grows again? Eventually, the population will grow, right? It's going to threaten this again, or is everyone going to learn not to? Everyone going to institute child laws or something? Everyone can only have one kid or something.
yeah. What?
But
what is the
he'll
answer? I didn't think
yeah.
that through.
But
Or he'll just
maybe,
do this again, and
yeah, I don't know if I guess he's technically an eternal, isn't he? So
Yeah,
he's probably immortal. So we'll see. When we
Okay.
get to the Eternals, we'll talk about that a little more.
well, so what?
So,
What
all right,
now?
what's your overall? How do you feel about this movie overall, Joe?
Me?
that's
It's
Joey
great.
G.
It was great. But of course, I mean, it's definitely a cliffhanger ending because it just ends so abruptly with everybody disappearing, and it's a sad ending. It's frustrating, but it was such a good movie. I mean, there was so much to it, action and everything. Yeah, I don't know. What do you
I
guys
feel
think?
like it was really good. A lot of people hold it up as probably the best MCU movie because it had everybody in it and so much happened, and it was very comic booky in a lot of ways, and also has a really dark ending. Like a lot of people say The Empire Strikes Back is the best of the original Star Wars trilogy because it has such a dark ending and the villain is so villainous throughout the whole thing.
Yes, villainy.
Yeah, arts and the Sith.
Art's
I feel
favorite
like,
thing.
yeah, but I feel like this movie's also sort of set the bar at an impossible level for like a regular standalone superhero movie to meet, because now it's like, well, this was an all right movie, but it didn't have all the other Avengers and everybody else, every other character that's ever been introduced so far. They're not in this movie, so it's not as exciting. So I think the next phases of Marvel have a way to go to try to figure out how to
Make it
fun
and exciting to see.
like the individual stories versus.
Well, I think what they're starting to do now is because they're coming out with different series, and then some of the people who have been in series are popping up in movies, so you get like a little bit of an introduction, and then you have a movie that sets up other movies, and then we've already, I guess, at some point everything's going to come together with the Kang dynasties. So it's like you got multiverse, you got I don't know, you have the multiverse, you have shit coming from the television shows, interacting and trying, having to, I guess, reconcile. I don't want to say the mistakes that you made, but reconcile things that happen in those movies and how they're all in this next phase once we get to, like I say, Kang Dynasty and the Kang Avengers movies, like how you, with this new team that you're building by introducing or helping us who don't know about the characters learn these newer characters, so it's watchable, if that makes any sense, right? Like, because
Yeah. It's
you don't have Tony, you don't have Cap, you have new Cap, you have Ironheart, you have Kamala, Photon, you got all these other characters that we've been kind of slowly introduced to. And now when we get to like this next big posse cut movie, it's like you're gonna have a whole new list of superheroes that people outside of the comic books are gonna be like, oh, who's this? I mean, sure, they can say like I identify with this person because they look like me, or there's a lot of representation, but it's like, is it enough for me to want to say like, hey, I really want to see this movie because
I would like to, for the next time they get a bunch of heroes together in a movie like this, because now with all the Disney Plus shows and stuff, it's a little harder to follow the direct line.
Mhm.
That if they take a cue from the Spider-Verse movies and occasionally put like little footnotes in the corner, like when they have a movie that, like when Sam Wilson shows up as Captain America for the first time in film, maybe those people that haven't watched Falcon and Winter Soldier are gonna, what the hell happened here? And then there'll be a little footnote that said, see Falcon and Winter Soldier for the
Right, like
story
in
of
the
how this
comics,
happened,
yeah.
or stuff like that. I always kind of like that when they can do that, and maybe they'll eventually do that just as a sort of a way to poke fun at themselves for being this huge unwieldy continuity that is hard to keep in line.
Especially when they come out with shows that kind of make you question things that happened in the previous movies.
Yeah, and we'll get to Secret Invasion when we get to it. But
Yeah, I haven't even started it. Art's like dying to talk about it. Haven't even started it yet.
All right. Overall, you got TBJ Artstar. Thoughts on Infinity War?
I am a fan. I think it's no surprise. I love it when a movie does all the things. As much as I'm not always emotionally ready, I love it when it pulls on my emotions. And this does a wonderful job of being emotionally driven, great scenes, great fighting. Like, it does all the things. I don't know what our rating system is anymore. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
for me, this is like, this movie in particular is like my what I want to say, my new millennium Top Gun kind of thing, right? So it's like, it's one of those things where if I see it's on, I'm watching it.
Okay.
Just because it's like I love a good posse cut, right? So to me, this is like a posse cut of a movie. So like, I love watching this any chance I can.
All right.
Like,
by posse cut, are you referring to the Mario Van Peebles Western Posse?
No, by posse cut, for those of you who don't know, I mean when you get like a bunch of people together and you put them on one track and you get a banger.
The,
you know what I'm
like
saying?
the
Like
entire
the
Wu-Tang
symphony.
Clan on one song.
See, yeah, Wu-Tang is a posse, but Wu-Tang is forever, right? But I mean, when you have like let's say you have the Hot Boys and the 3-6 Mafia on the same record, you end up with a posse cut.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be like the same group. It's just like you got everybody from everywhere. Like
Excelsior.
like any of the Crisis on Infinity Earths. Those are like posse cuts, right? Because you got Superman, you got Batman, you got Mr. I could say Mr. Plastic.
The Plastic Man.
Oh shit! I was about
Yeah,
to
you got
say
everybody
Mr.
in the Crisis on
Plastic.
Infinite Earths.
But like,
But
that's what I mean by posse cut. Yeah.
It's a posse. This is definitely a posse cut. Then is the Infinity War Endgame.
But if you want to compared to the movie Posse. Yeah, it's a posse. They're posse going up
And
against
this
Thanos.
is what they've been building to since like the first Avengers movie, since the beginning of the MCU. They knew like the first phase was, all right, we're experimenting with making Marvel comics into movies, and they all intertwine, and that was culminated in the Avengers movie, and then they tagged that with the Thanos first appearance of Thanos. So this is what was building ever since the first Avengers movie, and
Right.
now this is where it is. Everyone's excited for it. Everyone's on board. These have been the most popular
And see,
movies.
that's what I'm wondering what they're gonna do with this next phase, like how we haven't been necessarily teased because we've got a variant of him, but the fact that like Kang is really, I guess he's, as they say in the snap, he's the big bad of this phase. It's like how there's no, and this show that just went on, there's no real influence of him in this show that just finished. But then we have Loki coming, and then you've had Quantumania, and then you have whatever's gonna happen in the Marvels. So it's like how much of Kang's influence is going to be in the rest of these movies building up. Is it going to have the same effect that Thanos had, starting from Avengers on up to where we are now? You know what I mean? Even just like how we're about to do, the next movie is Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah, the next movie we're doing is Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so it's almost like there was a break. There was a break in between before you get back to.
Yeah, that's the the thing with this is
Uh-huh.
thinking about the impact of this movie is that we had to sit with this for a year, with this ending, with this huge downer. Everyone's dead. Blah. Like this was a whole year where everyone was like, what the hell happens? How do we do anything? Where do we go from here? Can't wait to figure out how they get out of this after such a disastrous loss. And so, which made the anticipation for Endgame all that much, and all that, like, can it possibly satisfactorily wrap up this storyline? Can it come back from this in a way that doesn't feel cheap? Or like, oh, fine, of course they had to, or whatever. Like, no one had to come back in a way that no one rolls their eyes at it. And so we'll find that out when we get to Endgame, see how you feel about that.
But I give this,
yeah,
I give this 9.9 out of 9.9.
Now, Captain Marvel was that the only one between? No, we still have. Did we do Ant-Man and the Wasp yet? No, we didn't.
That's
No, we haven't
before
done-
Captain Marvel, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I
Oh,
knew there was
you're
another
right.
movie. And we have to do Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Because I remember Joe done already got, skipped ahead a little bit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've realized as much as I want to, I can't. I gotta stop because it confuses me, and then I can't remember where we're at with it. What we are, and if I already know too
Here's
much, then it messes up my question.
So basically what you're doing is you're almost forgetting what you've learned, right? It's like watch it to enjoy it and then go back and watch it for the purpose of educating yourself, so to speak. So it's like you can keep going as far as you want, but just know like, oh, okay, we just finished this one. Let me go back and watch Ant-Man and Wasp, not to just sit here and watch it, but sit here like, okay, maybe I'm gonna take notes because I'm gonna ask them about this, I'm gonna ask them about that.
That's the problem. Is I'm taking them notes when I'm getting ready to cover it with you guys, but when I get too far ahead, then I know too much, and it's like I can't remember my questions because now I know the answer.
Joe.
I don't
You
want to
can
know
never
the
know too-
answers. I want you guys to tell me the answers to make good content. So
you feel like you got the book and you just went straight to the back, look at the answer.
yeah, I think I'm just gonna, because the other thing is there's so much other things
I get it.
that aren't MCU that I can watch.
I get it. Like because of you, Joe, I am I'm binge watching One Piece. I am literally on, which is an anime for you non-anime people. I think I'm on episode 45. They just had episode 1071 come out. Like I can't watch any of the other ones because I know I'll be lost. So like it'll probably take me years when I'm watching it. Like Ahsoka comes out in like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not even going to watch Ahsoka. And I'm usually when a show come out, I'm watching it right then and there. Like I'm not even going to watch Ahsoka until I finish the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, because I don't want to just go in. Like I've already seen her live action and like the other shows. So, but like I want to take her show. I don't want to start watching her show until I've watched all of Clone Wars and the Rebels. And I have probably like 100 episodes. But I'm not watching until I finish that, because I don't want to. I'd feel like I'm cheating if I just start watching the show before I watch, all of her other, battles.
I agree.
Rebels.
You want to know her, and that's why I do what I'm doing. And you're doing that, but I have to say, I doubt you'll be able to stop yourself. I think
I can do
noble. It's hard, man. That's a lot to watch.
I can do it.
You can?
I can do it.
You sure?
I believe in myself.
You are a true Jedi.
I am a true believer.
Yes.
Now this is what TBJ said. Excelsior.
What does TBJ think about this movie?
I already answered it. You weren't paying attention to me.
Oh,
Yeah, good job, idiot.
I was editing. I was trying to fix a
See?
stupid website, History for Jerks.
I knew you weren't paying attention to me.
But so next we got to do Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is mostly standalone until the post. Like
But
it has nothing to do
does-
with what we've seen.
Does it
Until-
happen
But here's the thing.
before this?
I want to spoil. I hate
Do
you
not
guys
spoil
so
it, Art.
much.
This entire
Can I
episode
say
is
this?
titled "The One Where Art Wanted to
The
Spoil
one,
Everything."
the one where Art's lips want to sink ships. Joe's gonna put that in the title. Watch, but it's one of those things where it's like a lot of these standalones. Secret. That's the one good thing I think Secret Invasion kind of did. Is some of the standalone stuff it pulls from, where it's like, okay, when you're watching this quote unquote standalone, you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is in the MCU. Hey, Scott's here, But it's like a lot of the standalone stuff gets pulled in, So
Okay.
I don't.
does this
Andy
one
might
take-
pick it up, but
Does this
I
one
don't
take
think-
place at the same time or before?
Before,
Infinity.
but then like the post-credits scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp ties it in to Infinity War
Okay.
and sets up how Ant-Man shows up in Endgame.
Okay.
But everything else about Ant-Man and the Wasp is completely like a palate cleanser and is all about just, it introduces Jimmy Woo, the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or FBI
See,
agent. I
this
guess,
is
at that
why
point.
I can't watch anything ahead of time, because now I love Jimmy Woo from WandaVision.
Yeah,
But we already covered WandaVision on this show, so
we did.
Jimmy's coming back, Joe.
he is Randall Park.
Yeah.
This
Well,
will be fun.
Randall Park's the best.
There's a lot they can do with Jimmy Woo if they decide to actually delve into him beyond being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Jimmy Wu Tang.
Woo-woo.
I think we talked about that a little bit on WandaVision.
Yeah, because that brought you into the gorilla. Who are those guys that have a gorilla that has a gun or whatever?
The Agents of Atlas.
Yeah, that brought you into that.
Yeah,
right?
there's
Does
yeah,
Jimmy
there's
Woo have
Gorilla
something to do with
Man.
those guys?
and- yeah, when they brought him back, like he was basically kind of their leader. It was there's a lot to explain with the Agents of Atlas, and
Well, I'm gonna read Agents of Atlas next when I finish the Secret War stuff. That I'm burning through Secret Wars, which you guys have made me start reading comic books on Hoopla, and I'm reading all the Secret War stuff to learn some
yeah.
background stuff. So, I'm now a
Joe's
nerd.
going to be the Secret Wars expert.
You guys are making me a nerd, man. You
Yeah.
guys have done your job. But that brings us to the
Alright.
end of this episode.
Yep. And now we got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, and then Endgame, and then we're and I guess what Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Far
and we
From
might
Home?
throw in
And
some
that's the end of the
sprinkle in
phase.
some episodes of us with guests now that we've had the Black Power Rangers and there's other people that want to be guests. And so this has been episode 91 of Nerd School, and we're gonna get to 100 pretty soon. We're gonna have to have a big 100th episode.
We need to do the 100th live.
Is that going to be? Are we going to try to do our big Carrington Wingfall episode of someone who's never seen Star Wars?
But don't we have that? I thought you guys wanted to finish this
So
phase
we
first.
start watching the Star Wars movie.
Don't you
Yeah,
guys
we
wanna-
could.
Yeah,
but
we
I'm just
talked
wondering.
about finishing this phase before we embarked on the Star
Right.
Wars world.
So if we're
We
90,
also just note it's August and we did not do our summer watching either, y'all, where I beat you
Yeah.
guys in my selections every summer.
but don't we do those in between phases?
We do.
We do. We just been slow on this phase, so it's gonna be more of an early fall.
It'll be a
Right.
Christmas.
Which
Hallmark
then, right?
movie.
Which then would mean are we going to do a Christmas one this year?
We should Christmas nerd movie.
We can. Listen, I got plenty. I'm still coming out on top no matter how we do
I
it.
want you to make us watch a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Listen, you won't shame me.
Here's
I
the
got
thing.
plenty
Here's the
coming out.
thing. She wouldn't be making me watch it.
Oh,
I don't have a problem with watching movies of that. I'm using air quotes
because you are secure in your manhood.
I mean, yeah, of course. I watch Days of Our Lives, Young and the Rest, but I don't
Yeah,
care.
baby.
But I occasionally watch. I don't want to say sappy love.
The
shows,
feel
whatever, but
goods. It's
but
the
like,
feel goods.
I like Virgin River and The Good Witch and all of that. You know.
What did I watched an episode of Ted Lasso, and he says about Hallmark movies, and I thought of TBJ. He
I forgot
perfectly
what he
explains
said.
it. He says to Roy Kent, he says, let me see. He says, "Hey fellas," he's talking to the whole coach or the whole team, the soccer team. He's like, "We can get one goal and we're right back in this thing, but right now we're being so unoffensive, we might as well be a Hallmark Christmas movie." And they all look confused and didn't know what it meant. So then he pulls the other coach aside and he says, "Hallmark Christmas movies are films that feature women from the big city falling in love with their childhood crushes. It's usually some fellow that owns a Christmas tree farm. Sometimes he's also Santa Claus or a prince. They suck, but they're great. But they also mostly suck, but they're also kind of great. They're good with the sound."
Yep. Yep.
Is that right, TBJ?
They're good with the sound off.
I mean, there are some that are actually great because new management, but essentially, you just need that dose of, is it the same formula? Yes. Do we know exactly how this is going to go? Yes. But do I feel good in the end and want to stab less people? Also, yes.
Well, and then one other thing I
Stab
wanted
less
to bring up
people.
to you guys is Andy and I got together with our cousins, and our cousin Jake in particular started rifling off nerd questions to Andy about the MCU. And I was like, "Hold up, Jake. Sounds like you need to listen to the Nerd School podcast because this can help you with the MCU." Because he and his wife, I think, started watching it all. They just had a baby and they're like settling down and like being at home. And he's like, "Oh, what's the Nerd School podcast?" So I told him all about it. And I said, "It's exactly what these questions you're asking right now, I've asked him already, and it's on recording. And you can also go along the journey with Artstar and TBJ as your teachers." And so totally forgot we had that conversation at the lake. And I got a text from him just the other day, and he said, "Hey, I am 8 episodes into the Nerd School podcast. I can't stop listening. I love it." And he said, "Art is awesome." He said, "It's funny, some of the stuff you guys are talking about is stuff I've talked to Andy about." And he said he loves that Artstar loves Frankenstein and DC and hates Liv Tyler. And he laughed about that.
Oh yeah.
And then he said his favorite thing is he loves how Tiffany keeps Artstar in check. So,
I got a job to do.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
man.
yeah. And he loves he actually is working on making our theme song his ringtone for his phone. He loves it.
That's awesome.
So I
Aw,
sent it
go
to him.
ahead, cousin.
Yeah,
Welcome.
cousin
You're
Jake.
cousin to all.
So shout out to cousin Jacob, Jake Sandwich. Yeah. So he'll probably get to this because we're only 90 some episodes in, but
Yeah, eventually. And he will probably listen at a faster pace than we record.
yeah. Well, and
So he'll
those of
catch
you
up to us
who
soon
have
enough.
wondered, that theme song is by D Jones Music. You can find him on Bandcamp, and you can purchase that song if you want. It's a good song.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we're gonna
R.I.P.
play it
Pee Wee
right now,
Herman.
eh? Oh yeah, Pee Wee Herman died today.
Dun, dun, dun.
We were
R.I.P.
upset.
Sinead O'Connor.
But that song is called A New Chapter.
Cool.
There it is, right there.
All right.
That's a good song.
can't-
But that intro.
We
is
can't
good.
hear you, but
Yeah.
that's a wrap.
Okay, that's a wrap, everybody.
Catch you next
Later,
time.
nerds.
And TBJ wants to say Excelsior.
She does.
He does not.
She just shut off her mic before she could even
All right,
finish the
Andy.
sentence.
Andy, you want to
Yeah,
beatbox
pretty
us out?
much.
Dun, boom, boom, boom.
Big.
Dun, boom.
Wow.
Wicked, 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 wicked.
We're sorry, people.
Yeah.
Andy tied on one too many.
Okay, Artstar's gonna fart us out.
No.
I can't do it because I'm already laughing.
TBJ says no. Nobody ever farts us out.
No one needs to fart us out.
Thank you for listening to the Nerd School podcast.
They say I can't rap about the president no more, but evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons, and people thinking this election to end in racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems, Mr. Officer. Now they POTUS look like me, you gon' think again when seeing brothers rolling down the street. Every Martin Luther King on his American dream. Still a Rodney being beaten, screaming fuck the police. Me, I'm running through the pasture, trying to get away from master, but the dogs is on my ass, I gotta move a little faster. Can't pass for Caucasian, but I got a couple papers from the plantation saying I graduated. Congratulations, cool beans, but to most school mean trying to dodge STDs, living off government cheese. Trust the government, please. Not even if it was me sitting in the Oval Office as commander-in-chief, trying to give us free, but there's a nigga in my ear saying, you got it, Superman, you ought to keep it here. Get this distinctly clear, I'm all about jetting. Raps Kunta Kinte without the half-stepping. A new chapter, back with new lessons. After that, the final exam. Any questions?
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.